Good afternoon, friends and family of Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. I am Reverend Cindy Grimes, and I am so happy you've chosen to spend some time with us this afternoon or that you're watching this recording. And if you are a first time visitor to the Center for Spiritual Living broadcast, I would like to tell you a little bit about who we are. And I will do that by sharing our values and what we're about. The first thing on our list of values is spiritual growth and practice. It is the reason we come together at the Center for Spiritual Living is so that we can all grow and learn together these universal spiritual principles that help us to live our best lives. And that's what we're all about. We value love. I think when you come to the Center for Spiritual Living, you feel that love. Visitors always tell us that. We value appreciation and know that what we appreciate grows in our awareness and our understanding. We value community. We value freedom, creativity, health and wholeness, generosity. And that's another great one. I know I skipped through a few of those, but generosity, especially this time of year as we think about giving, we value generosity greatly, and we try to be generous, and we appreciate those who are generous with us, and we value financial well-being. Let's see. Our mission at the Center for Spiritual Living is to provide spiritual tools and practices for personal transformation as well as global transformation. And our purpose is to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence, meaning that we believe that we all have that divine essence within us, that we are all magnificent and beautiful and love and light at our core. And what we try to do is to find that for ourselves, to tap into that core and to see it in others. And our vision is a world that works for everyone. And that is what we are about at CSL Ocala. So I'm going to bring in our practitioner, one of our practitioners at CSL Ocala, and her name is Donna Davis. Of course, those of you who know CSL Ocala know Donna. And here she is. Yay!
Hi.
Bright and shiny with her red shirt and her big smile. How you doing, honey?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really good. Yeah.
I
I
haven't
had a
seen you since
wonderful Christmas yesterday with the kids, so it's amazing.
awesome. I know that you worked through the holidays. You worked
I
Christmas
did.
Eve and you worked Christmas Day. So you guys had your celebration yesterday.
Yes, yeah.
That's good.
I work
Yeah.
because, I don't have little kids anymore. So those who have
Yeah.
little kids should be able to, be home.
Yeah. Well, see, and there's that generosity of spirit, right?
No.
Like you could say,
Yeah.
no, I'm going to be home for Christmas with my
Mm-hmm.
family, but instead you're out there taking care of other people's families.
Mm-hmm.
So we appreciate you and all of those first responders that do that important work. And
Thank
so,
you.
yeah, thank you. And I'm going to take myself out of the stream here and let you take it over and pray us on in.
Okay. Ah, yes, everybody. I am so present with you guys today. So today we are talking about, and the purpose of this particular treatment is about recognizing that the light is returning, knowing that the light did not go anywhere, that we are, even in our darkest times, the light is coming back, it's shining through. And as we are in this space right now, at this time of year, we just celebrated Yule, and we're really getting into that new way of being. The longest night has passed, and we're approaching the daylight. I invite you now to just sit and get really centered in your seat as we welcome today's talk. I recognize the allness of the one wonderful first cause, one power that exists and moves in and through and around all things. I recognize that since I am sitting in this very seat, in this very room, that I am the place where God shows up. I am a part of that oneness, that allness. And just as the winter comes for the tree and the leaves are shed, the tree holds fast, knowing that new leaves will be blossoming in the spring. So too, that same magic that works within the universe works for me as I am going through my dark night of the soul, that rest and hibernate period. I know that I am emerging and awakening. And we're doing this in different ways. We're doing it today with Marianne. We're doing it with Reverend Cindy. We're doing it together. This waking up of mankind, this consciousness awakening. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful for all of this and how the awakening shows up in each and every one of it. And I released these words into the law, knowing that it's all good and all God. And so it is.
And so it is. You're always such an awesome prayer warrior.
Thank you.
Thank you for just kicking us off the right way and getting us started in this conversation. And I hope we'll see you afterward, right? Will you be in on the
Yes,
Zoom
I'll be
call?
on the Zoom call.
On the Zoom call. Excellent,
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah.
Yeah, send us questions or whatever as you're out there, and maybe we'll bring you back into the feed at some point.
Okay. All right. I'll hang out.
All right, awesome. Love you.
Love you.
All right. See you in a bit. Okay, so my guest today is a dear friend of mine named Marianne Gennaro, and some of you probably know her. She's kind of a motivational speaker. She does a little bit of everything. She's been keynote speaker for a couple of different charitable organizations, and I think she's just the perfect person to close out 2020 with this year because she's a big part of one of our bigger stories of this year, something that a lot of you followed when I invited Richard Midkiff back in, I think it was April or May, to speak with us. And Richard and I met at Marianne Correctional Institution, which is where also how Marianne and I got to know one another. We had met before. We were both volunteers at Marianne Correctional, but we really got to know one another through doing that work at the prison. And I've watched this woman grow and blossom and share her amazing gifts. And again, part of the reason I felt like she's just the perfect person to speak on this topic today is because Marianne has weathered some storms. You know, Marianne is that wounded healer who's now using her wisdom and her understanding of some of the challenges that she has been through to move, not just to move forward, but to make life better for the people around her. And she is a bright, shining, beautiful light. And I'm super excited to invite Marianne to join us this afternoon. And there she is.
Hi, Cindy. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so beautiful and bright, and I love that red color on you. I was going to wear red today and I didn't. Dang it.
I'm still in the Christmas mode.
You look fabulous, and I thank you so much. I know you have been under the weather a little bit physically, and we'll talk some about that.
Okay.
So I just thank you for taking the time to be with us and to share some of your story and let people get to know you. And yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this month, in December, we celebrate Christmas and we celebrate. I think almost every culture has some kind of celebration around light during December.
Yes.
And for me, the Christmas holiday, I got away from the more Christian kind of interpretation of it to look at it more as the birth of the Christ consciousness and enlightenment and awareness within each one of us. And that's what we celebrate at this time of year. Whether we're Christian or we're coming from some other denomination, as I said, so many people are celebrating the light. And, the solstice on December 21st, right, is the longest night of the year. And we know that as soon as we hit that point, we start moving back again, to the light. So I think it's good to remember, especially for people who may be going through changes, right?
Oh, Absolutely.
remind us of that. Sometimes you have all these ideas of what Christmas is supposed to be and the holidays and family and all of that, and when it's not that, or here we are in the midst of a pandemic and some people can't even gather, that there's a lot of pain around that. But I want for people to get and to remember out of our time together that that the darkness is only one part of it, right?
It makes
And
us stronger.
it makes you stronger. As soon as we hit that low point, we're moving
Mhm.
back up again. So, um, geez, where do we start? There's so many starting points here. Let me see how you and I met, how you and I got to know one another. Let's talk about that, and then maybe we'll jump around a little bit. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see what feels good.
Sounds good to me. I think the first time that we actually met was in Toastmasters. And I remember thinking the first time that I attended a meeting, I said, I'm out of here. There's no way I can stand up and talk in front of all these people. And I believe that was the starting point of where God wanted me, because it started there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's another one of the themes I think people will see throughout your story was just that surrendering into like what's next, right? God wants this for me and God wants that for me, and just to keep that, like that's the place of faith, right? I don't know what this looks like, but I'm going to lean into it because I know Spirit has a bigger thing in mind for me. Yes, yes. So Toastmasters, yes, and then
Toastmasters. And then from the journey that I came from, as we come into this world or a dysfunctional childhood or domestic violence and almost losing your life, being on life support system, I was always asking God for help and help me through this, help me through that. And I believe at one point in 2015 I decided to say, how can I be of service to you? And that's when the call came through a week later from Manal Fakori, and she asked me if I would be a volunteer up at the Marianne Correctional Institute for Men and Women. And I got off the phone thinking, this is a joke. You know, what do I have to offer? What could I possibly do up there? And actually, Cindy, I want to say, when saying yes, God will show you what's within you to
yeah.
give back. So that's where it started.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you alluded to some things in your conversation, went over really, really fast there, right?
Yeah.
Of your journey and why you said yes, even to wanting to do something like that. So I know because I heard in Toastmasters and you shared, of course, with the men some of your trials in life, but maybe kind of give people a little snapshot for those who don't know you.
Well, we come into this world not choosing, parents or religion or place of birth. It's it's where we're placed. And I was in a dysfunctional home, which led me into dysfunctional marriages, and I was a victim of domestic violence. And as much as I tried to fight through that, I found myself on life support system. And they said that my organs were shutting down and I was not going to survive. And that was the diagnosis of the physicians. But I always say it was not God's will or Spirit's will. I had 4 children, and I walked out of that hospital, a new person, a new
Yeah.
person, a woman filled with strength and knowing that I even had a priest in the room at the time, and he said, I prayed for you and you're alive. And all I could say was, even God didn't want me. And that was my feelings. And I was proven that, boy, when he has a will for you, he will rise you up and put you back out there. And that's exactly what happened.
Wow. So it was head injury, was it not?
Yeah, head trauma.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you had 4 little kids. And
yes.
so you pick up as a single mom and move down to Florida.
Yeah, and that was where a change came too. I met this person who convinced me that I could start this whole new life in Florida. And I packed up everything and moved here. My father was here, and I started a whole new life. At that particular time, my brother was going through brain cancer, and so it was very difficult for me to leave. And another message with my brother's illness, uh, he left me a letter at that time, uh, and I never knew how he felt. That letter is a gift. I have it today. I've read it to the men at the prison, uh, letting me know that I was his hero, and I never would have known that. So sometimes expressing ourselves and reaching out to people and letting them know how we feel is very important.
Yeah, yeah. So your brother passed from
Yeah,
it.
he was 36 years old, and it was brain cancer, and he had all these dreams and aspirations. And at that particular time when that was going on, I said I would never, ever take 1 minute of my life for granted. But, we're programmed. And I did. And I, fell back into that same pattern that's hard to break at times. But he quickly reminds me many times, uh,
Yeah.
just like currently what's going on in my life, that life isn't promised to us. So, enjoy it, embrace it, find the light, be the peace.
Yeah. Right. Make the most of what's there, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So then so fast forward, right? You and I have this connection in Toastmasters. Our dear friend Manal asked us to go and volunteer at Marion Correctional. You said men and women, but where we were, it was just men. I think you did volunteer at the women's
Yeah,
prison
my
though too.
son is over there as well, which was another eye-opening experience. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So um, I know my family thought it was a little strange when I started volunteering in the prison. Here I am from a family of police officers, right? My dad, my husband, my daughter. It's like, what the heck are you doing going into
Mhm.
prison? Why would you even want to do that? And so I caught some flack about it, and I know you did too, because we talked
Oh,
about
yeah. And with being there, we started out at the work camp, and standing ovation when we walked in, and we went. It was the beginning of connecting with the most beautiful individuals that you'd ever want to know, and hearing their stories, and they became more like family, right, Cindy? I mean, they were
absolutely,
family.
absolutely. I think I don't know if that surprised you. I know it really shocked me. I thought that we were going there to help them, to I don't know, share whatever wisdom or, things that were going to help them maybe when they came out. And I learned so much more from them. Yeah, that I never anticipated, never expected.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they changed my life, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. They changed your life in a pretty major way.
Anyway,
So,
major, major.
so I brought up Richard Midkiff, who was someone that we had in common at Marion Correctional. And for people who've been following Center for Spiritual Living, they either saw it or they could go back and watch the conversation I had with Richard, who I don't know, you want to tell about Richard. Tell him your spin on Richard, and I'll tell him mine.
Okay, well, again, when God has a will, he puts these little steps, and I was only at the work camp, and it was one night a week, and that's where I was going to stay. And continuously, the other volunteers would say to me, "No, you have to go to the main unit." And I said, "No, no, no, no." And they said, "Yes, yes, yes, yes." And so once again, I said yes.
And
And
so hang on. So the reason for not wanting to go to the main unit, because I had the same thing. I had a very similar, like, I don't, the work camp was one thing. Those guys were short timers, right? Like 10 years or less, most
yes,
of the guys. And they were, not deemed dangerous in any way. They were low risk people. But then the work camp, I mean, I'm sorry, the main unit was where
main unit,
the
yeah.
people were there for a much longer time, some of them for life. Go ahead, go on.
Yeah, I think that's what it was, Cindy. It was more intimidating, and I felt comfortable where I was. I had grown to love these gentlemen and want to be there for them, and every night that I was there, give them some inspiration before I left, and that was good. I was good. I felt that this was my purpose. But then I entered the main unit, and this was a totally different experience. Because as Cindy just said, it was people who were going to be spending the rest of their life in prison, had committed some horrendous crimes, and their stories were pretty amazing. But when I stood up and gave my story about domestic violence to these lifetime prisoners, there were men that were crying and came up to me afterwards to say that they were hearing the other side of the story of a victim, and that their mothers were still being abused, or their children, their sisters were being abused, and could I somehow reach out to them? So I knew that this is where Spirit was leading me. And then I met the most amazing individual named Richard Midkiff. Who started calling me Mom. This is way back before I actually became his mom. But he was just doing such wonderful, great things within the prison. Storytime Dad, where he had prisoners reading to their children. And he was just the president of most of the clubs that we were in. He started Sage. I could just go on and on, but then I'd be just bragging. So maybe if you'd like to say something about it.
Well, I want to tell what Sage is a program that was Richard's brainchild, of getting people to teach stuff in the prison, right? To these guys who were in the main unit. And it was everything from real estate to, I think Lisa Riley did a comedy class. Yoga, social emotional learning, the conflict resolution, the stuff I was teaching. It was everything. And this guy had this schedule with all the volunteers, and he organized everything. And I mean, it was like clockwork. It was really much better organized than a lot of things I've done out here.
Yes. I mean, and actually when you would enter, you felt like you were actually, the way I would explain is I felt safer there than I did on the outside. It was like walking on a campus. And when you would enter the room, you were then locked in with, I don't know, maybe 20, I'll call them men in blue. And Richard would run around with cups of water, serving us like we were at his home. Yeah. And that was the feeling most of the men would give you.
Yeah. It definitely felt way safer than I would have ever imagined. And I think I've said this before, I felt safer sometimes with those guys than I did with some of the people that were supposed to be partying us, right?
Yes.
It was quite an experience. So so we both love Richard and appreciate him. And then things
they progressed into definitely progressed. I believe that now I'm going up to the Marianne Correctional Institute and the work camp 3 days a week. It was a dedication of, wanting to be there and give as much as you can, but they were giving to me as well. And towards the end, I became ill, and I was getting ready. I was coming less and less. And I remember Richard sitting next to me, and I had disclosed some things to him, and he said, I really would love, before you leave, I'd love someone that I could just write to. And I said, well, I have a daughter. and she was going through a really rough time. And Richard said, give me a chance. Let me help her. And I said, I don't know. So I went home and I really prayed on this. I really had to soul search. And I reached out to my daughter and she said, "You've lost your mind." Why would I want to do that? And I said, "Well, I know it's hard to believe." I said, "But he's really amazing. And he's got God in the center of his life, and he just wants to give and just give it a chance." And
Yeah.
she did.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
they wrote for, I think, oh my gosh, maybe 2 years.
Yeah. And then the miracle happened, right? And Richard got early release.
Yes.
He
Yes.
got early release. Like, I forget, was it over 10 years sooner than what he had
Mhm.
anticipated?
Yes.
Yeah. Again, an amazing turn of events. But I felt like I personally so well deserved because he did so much. He was constantly giving, and teaching too. I mean, this man taught himself about stocks and bonds and business and all kinds of things while he was behind bars with not a whole lot of ready resources. You know, he created a lot of this and somehow drew all these people into his life. It was really amazing. All
And
right.
there's one thing about going up to prison, as we both shared about how our families felt that we weren't in a safe place. You have this stereotype of what is a prisoner, and you watch TV, you read the newspaper, so you have this vision, and it's all dangerous and gloom and doom. So when Richard first came into our family, I didn't tell anyone who he was, and or how I knew him. And they fell in love with the Richard as is.
Right. Your family fell in love, and then what happened with your daughter?
He gave me a Christmas card that made me cry, but it actually said, "Mothers always know best, and thank you for finding the man of my dreams." And I know that may be hard for some people to digest out there that, I've had it thrown at me. How can a mother, um, be happy about introducing her daughter to someone who had committed a crime? But I'm going to tell you that I have been abused and almost lost my life by a college graduate or someone who was of stature of being a doctor. So don't judge, by the cover, because what's inside the person can always change, and he's definitely living proof.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And you know what you're saying is so true, Marianne, that domestic violence, violence in general, it's not a socioeconomic thing. You know, it's anybody. It could be anyone.
Yeah. And it helped me to understand my abuser, because when you would hear the men's stories, being abandoned as children in these homes, their parents being, addicts, and they didn't even have any food, or the only way they could find resources was on the street, or they were beaten themselves, and it's a vicious cycle. So when you hear their stories, you learn forgiveness at a deeper level.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had Richard on, of course. And I think it was the week after Richard came on this broadcast and told his story, he was told that he might have to go back to prison.
That had a big impact on me and my daughter and Richard. We lived every day in total fear. So we were very, very grateful for the outcome.
Yeah. So by this time, Mariana and Richard are like in love.
Oh yeah, they were, planning a wedding.
Yeah. So they're engaged. I think they got engaged like
Yeah.
that week or something like the
Mhm.
week before he got that news. So he's been out of prison for a year and getting ready, planning the wedding and all this fun, and then finds out, no, you might have to go back on a technicality.
Yes. And, there were so many people that supported my daughter and Richard and myself in you were one, Cindy, that stood up and helped in so many ways. And the attorney and Warden Sutherland. I mean, Mrs. Rushing from the prison. There's so many people that believed in this miracle of him being out, and why would we want to put him back in? So I believe that there, with prayer and like you say, with the dark, there's light. Well, there was a lot of dark, and we found the light.
Yeah, yeah. I want to show a picture. So Richard and Mariana got married last weekend, 2 weekends ago.
Yep, December 12th. And
Uh, this is a picture. This is not from the wedding, though, is it?
yes, that's from the wedding. And actually, in that picture, in the middle, the woman in the wine color is the retired Warden Sutherland, who believed in Richard, who he came with his plan to a due age, and she said, "You have 5 minutes." And he sold her in 5 minutes, and it started everything that was happening. The woman at the end is Dr. Manal Fakori, who introduced us as volunteers. And the two gentlemen from the right on are served time and are free and doing excellent. The one next to Layla also was from the work camp, doing excellent, living life to the fullest, and they are giving back to society. The one with the little corsage is my son-in-law, Richard Bickett. And the end is Mr. Rushing, who was one of the guards there.
Oh, gosh, it's
Yeah.
so cool. Like who'd have thunk it, huh? Back in 2015 that we would be attending a wedding with you know of your daughter and someone from Marion Correctional, and it just incredible. You've got a guard there and the former warden and some of the inmates and Manal who brought us all together. It was just incredible.
And even at the church where the actual marriage ceremony took place, his attorney, Mark, was there doing a reading. And, Mrs. Sutherland has said over and over again that this is just, she's in all her years at the Correctional Institute, she has never seen anything like this. But I've met Richard's family, and we have become one family, and it's an amazing story. And I'm thanking God, Cindy, honestly, at this time that I was able to attend, because after going through the worry about Richard going back in and my daughter being so afraid, and working multiple hours and trying to put a wedding together and everything, I was serving them dinner right before we were going to know the verdict, whether Richard was going to be free. And I got up and went into the kitchen and had a major seizure and cracked my head open on the kitchen floor, causing a concussion and vertigo. So I really have to say that once again, God, I was lifted up to be where I was supposed to be, and that I was able to attend the wedding. So in ending this 2020 year, it has been really my notes that I have to write down now, because I'm on this really heavy medication right now. But it was transformation, not a disruption. All of this has been a transformation. The disruption was to be a new me.
Yeah. Wow, Marianne. So do you think have the doctors told you, were your seizures possibly a result of the head injuries early on from the domestic violence?
From the domestic violence and the serious car accident I was in with the abuser, I do have chronic white matter disease, which means part of your brain is not covered. And I assumed, because I was getting these little episodes where I felt my throat close up, and feeling like I was passed out, but I had no time to figure that out. So I self-diagnosed myself and just said, oh, it's, just I'm tired, or, I blamed it on this life itself. But it turned out that, according to two neurologists now, that it was stress and lack of self-care. You can give and give and give from an empty cup. And stress and lack of sleep, believe it or not, can cause seizures.
Yeah.
So right now, I've been fighting to look for Marianne underneath this medication they have me on. Like, where is she? And I believe that maybe I'm not going to find her because she no longer exists. There is a new me, and I need to breathe light into the person God wants me to be now. So,
Yeah. And who you've always been. Who you've always been.
yeah.
And I think the spiritual path is really about letting go of what's not really you, right? We come into the world perfect, beautiful, whole, complete, with all the gifts, with the talents that we need.
Yeah.
And then life happens. And sometimes we develop those gifts, sometimes we don't. Sometimes life smushes us down.
Oh,
Says, right? Who do you think you are? Get back in your box. Stay in your lane.
stay in your lane.
Stay in your
Oh,
lane.
I had someone tell me, well, no one knows who you are. And I said, again, when I said about doing motivational speaking, and I said, well, this is true, but everyone starts somewhere, and they have to know who you are by by doing this and learning about you. So don't ever let someone put out your spark by saying that you're not known, because you will be known. And I believe that my resume has been my journey.
Yeah.
God was writing that resume from childhood on. So.
People know who you are. People know who you are. So I said you've been keynote speaker at a couple of events, and yeah, we know who you are, and you make a huge difference. It's one of the beautiful things to see. As you mentioned, every time you would write your little inspirational messages for the guys, and I say little, I don't mean that in a
No, it was short.
but they would, yeah, these messages, and you'd get up there, and this wisdom would just come out of your mouth in such a way that was so authentic and so real and honest. And it just made them open up too, and I think it created that trajectory and that feeling of family that we had. I know people would say, how could you spend your it was every Tuesday night for me, and some Fridays, like, isn't that depressing? And I never felt like we were in prison except when we were going in and out of the gate. And of course the guards and stuff, but it was so easy to just be in that moment and appreciate the people there. And you helped create a beautiful space, Marianne, just your presence and
Thank
your
you.
your manner.
Thank you. And it doesn't go unnoticed, because there are many times that I'll be going through something, and Richard Midkiff will say, do you remember Cindy Grimes' class when she said? So, it's just a circle. When you give, you get. And even when one of the men introduced me at the wedding, he's introducing me to his girlfriend, and he's saying, when volunteers will give 3 days a week of their free time to you, you have to believe that you can change your life. So
Yeah, because we believed.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just knowing the same thing for you, and I'm glad you're telling your story here, because we got a lot of awesome prayer warriors that are going to wrap you up in
Yeah,
prayer. And
certainly.
yeah, and just know that you're coming out of this better, stronger, wiser, all of that.
Yes.
And I think you have a pretty good following already on Facebook, of your messages, your positive messages, and your videos and your photography, and just keep on keeping on.
Well, the whole plan for 2020 was to, we I was, along with Eddie Watkins Jr., going to be speaking in Tennessee, North Carolina, Ohio. We were going to Canada. We were going to be doing all of this. And that just didn't happen. But due to the virtual aspect, we've learned so much to be able to get close together in Zoom. And I'm able to do my posts and have met the most amazing people. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Marianne, I just wish you continued success. I'm so happy for you and your family that Richard found a family like yours that accepted him and loves him. And for your daughter, I mean, it's a beautiful match. They're such a gorgeous couple.
So happy. And there's nothing more than a mother can feel. And I know you're a mother, that I can rest in peace now, that if anything should happen, I know my 4 children are married to the most amazing people and will be taken care of. And this Christmas, as I looked down the table, there was Richard McKiff sitting at our table. And I remember in the prison saying, someday you will be sitting at my table. So what you say can become a reality.
I remember you saying that too. Were you saying that? How beautiful. I want to just see what comments we have. Oh, Lita's on the line here. Lita said, good to be here. Great things are coming for you, Marianne.
Thank you.
Just, and thank you for sharing your incredible story from Pat Felton. See if anyone else has any questions here. Yes, words are powerful, and you have an amazing energy and incredible story. So we're going to be meeting up on Zoom after this. There'll be a link in the Facebook chat for whoever wants to join in on Zoom. And are you going to join us, Marianne? Have a conversation?
Yeah.
People might want to chat with you. Have a little Q&A if you're up for that.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I so appreciate you being here. As I said, just knowing that you're not feeling like 100%, but I just appreciate you coming. And as I said, the perfect way to close out 2021.
And thank you for all that you do for everyone.
Yeah. Oh, Lita has a question for you. One more thing. She wants to know, what's your next step, Marianne?
What's that?
What's your next step, Marianne?
Oh, the next step is I'm being held hostage to medication. The neurologist told me that if I don't take any medication and take my risks of, having another seizure, I cannot drive for 2 years. So they're putting me on a different medication. And when that comes in, I'm hoping that my cognitive abilities are going to be greater. And then watch out, because I am going. I'm hoping for my own blog. I'm hoping that the pandemic will be something of the past and I will be able to travel. And if not, I'm hoping for more Zoom meetings and around the world where I can connect with heart to heart with people.
Love
you, Lita.
Yes. So we're affirming your healing and wholeness, and we will see you on Zoom in a little bit.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, my friend. Love you.
Love you too.
All right. Choking back the tears. Jeez. Anyway. All right. So what are we up to now? Let's see. Such a powerful story. I'm just so grateful to know Marianne and those wonderful volunteers, and just knowing that good things are ahead for everybody. Let's see, we've got a couple more comments. Oh, done. I guess I had to close out 2020 with a few tears, huh? So let's see what we're up to now. It is time for us to share our gifts and our tithes. So this is our affirmation. And again, we're so grateful to everybody who supports the Center for Spiritual Living. We really do just great work, whether you support this Center for Spiritual Living or you attend another one. I don't know. We've got people that join us from all over the country. But we survive and we thrive and we do what we do because of the generous giving of the people who see our mission and our vision and are all about it. And so we thank you. I'm so grateful to those of you who've stayed with us throughout this crazy pandemic year. And, to those who still come to the center and are doing yard work and just taking care of business here, we just so appreciate it. So we found got a few ways for people to give that are kind of cool. One of them, let me have this banner go across, is for you. You can either donate via PayPal or what we call text to tithe. And the PayPal info is on the bottom of the screen. cslocala.org is our website /donate. Or you can call this number 352-320-5110. And you do that from your cell phone. And what you do is send a text message with the amount of money that you'd like to send to the center. And it goes right from your bank account to ours. And it's beautiful and easy. And we're just so grateful. Or you can always mail a check. We have a lovely woman who just sends us a check with the same amount every week. And it's just so, so beautiful. I don't think we've met in person yet, but I'm just so grateful to know that that lives are being touched in some way by what we do here at the center. And so this is our affirmation, and I invite you to say it for yourself, or just listen to me as I say it for you. It is the nature of life to give of itself. As it is the tree's nature to bear fruit and the flower's nature to bloom, it is my nature to share the gifts of my time, talent, and treasure. I participate in the divine flow of life, giving generously and receiving abundantly. I am blessed and I am a blessing. I am grateful. And that is the truth. I am blessed and I am so very, very grateful. Some of you know I had COVID this year as well, and that wasn't much fun, but I feel really, really blessed to have come through it healthy, and that no one else in my family or my circle of influence has gotten it. And that I have people that work on the front lines that have been healthy throughout the year. And I just pray that continues. And I just pray for each one of you, all of the CSL Ocala family and friends, and just pray and affirm that 2021 brings great blessings and transformation for each one of us. And so I just affirm that and know that that is true. And so I will close this out with a prayer. Let's see. This is the prayer for protection, or maybe it's not here. Well, it looks like I might have, nope, sharing our gifts and tithes. I guess I lost the prayer for protection. I don't know what I did with it. Technology, technology. I will leave you with an affirmation. Every week we do a different one. Peace in my heart outpictures as peace in the world. My peace is a reflection of Christ consciousness. And so the prayer for protection that I will say, sorry, it's not up on the screen, but you probably know it already. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And so I just pray and affirm that all is well for you and for your loved ones as we go into this next year of 2021. And I just pray all the best for you. Thank you for joining us. And I hope some of you will join us on the Zoom call or share this broadcast with your friends. And hope you had a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. See you in 2021.